When you are graphing the function 2 cosine x equals y for skill practice 1, we notice that we have an amplitude of 2, which means our normal range from -1 to 1 now goes from -2 to 2. Cosine normally starts at the point 0, 1. Now it's going to start at 0, 2. Cosine is 2 pi periodic, which means that at 2 pi the value would also be 1, but now it is 2 because of that amplitude. We have a vertical stretch. Halfway between 0 and 2 pi for the cosine graph is pi, where we would have our minimum value, normally at -1, but because of the amplitude, it's now at -2. And then we don't have a phase shift. We're not translating our graph right or left. So our graph is still going to cross through the x-axis at pi over 2 and 3 pi over 2. And we can connect and make our graph. And this is a sketch of our graph, y equals 2 cosine x. Part B, the function y equals -1/3 sine x. Our amplitude is changed now, where we have a shrink instead of a stretch. So instead of going up to 1 and down to 1, we're only going up to a third and down to a -3rd. Sine starts at 0, 0. We don't have a phase shift. We're not changing it. We're not translating left or right or up or down. So we're still going through the point 0, 0. We're still going to go through the point 2 pi, 0. Our graph crosses from the positive to the negative at pi, and then goes back from negative to positive. Our amplitude, we would normally at pi over 2 go up to 1, but we have this vertical shrink to a third. So at pi over 2, we're going to go to 1/3. And at 3 pi over 2, we're going to go down to -1/3 and then sketch our graph. Here's the graph of y equals -1/3 sine x. Here are both functions with key points identified for one full period. For question 2, we are asked to identify the amplitude in the period and then graph the function and identify key points on one full period. For y equals 2 sine 4x, we have an amplitude of 2, and then we also have a period change. We're not doing a phase shift or a vertical translation at this point, but we do have a period adjustment. Our amplitude is the absolute value of a, or 2. Our period is found by taking 2 pi over b, which is 2 pi over 4, or pi over 2. We can find one full interval if we take the interval 0 is less than or equal to bx minus c is less than or equal to 2 pi, as a normal sine function is 2 pi periodic, so a full interval is found from 0 to 2 pi. Using this interval with bx minus c allows us to see what happens if we change our period or if we have a phase shift. This becomes 0 is less than or equal to 4x is less than or equal to 2 pi. Dividing through by 4, we get that 0 is less than or equal to x is less than or equal to pi over 2. We are then going to get a full cycle from 0 to pi over 2. Sine normally goes through 0, 0, and 2 pi, 0, but since our period goes from 0 to pi over 2 now, we're going to go through the point pi over 2, 0. Halfway in between, we're going to cross through the x-axis again. And then in between 0 and pi over 4, we're going to have our maximum value, which is stretched by a factor of 2. And between pi over 4 and pi over 2, halfway, we're going to get our minimum value stretched by a factor of 2. And then we can sketch our graph. Here are the key points of our graph for this one full cycle.